YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage back, and I've got another set of matches here for you. I played a couple of matches against the same guy, so it's usually kind of fun if you play a couple to show them both. Yeah, it's these two. So the first one is myself as Rome, and I'm playing against Chris, who is Carthage, and then the second match I'll play as Epirus, and he again chooses Carthage. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. This first match I decided to go pretty infantry light with Rome, and I brought again a couple of melee cav. I brought the auxiliary cav, and I have 3 Velites, 4 Syrian archers, 3 Sakai Equites, and I think 6 Principes, whatever you want to call these guys. So these Principes here are pretty darn good for the price. That's the reason why I brought them. And Carthage does have superior infantry in like the African pikemen or the Libyan infantry. But for the most part, Carthage's infantry is inferior to even some of the cheapest of Rome. So what I kind of banked on here was screening with my Velites as necessary, using my Syrian archers to gain an advantage where I could get heavy shot off. Also, these guys would be my protection against elephants, or these guys. So that's kind of my flexibility. Either one of my skirmishers could be used against elephants. The Velites were run up front mainly because I expected Balearic slingers, but my opponent brought 3 Cretan archers, which was not expected. These guys are pretty good though, but they're also very expensive. So I feel pretty confident that I can win a missile advantage, and that's what I'm going to go for in this battle. What I'm going to try and steer clear of is an early cav engagement where maybe his elephants could be thrown in. The other problem is that if I can't pretty much instantly kill or run his elephants amok, they will destroy my infantry entirely. So I think elephants are, they should be strong, and I like the fact that they're strong. What I don't like is that, like for instance, there's just a few things about them that I don't like. They're a little too strong, in my opinion. They're a little too easy to use. They can definitely be stopped. And sometimes in certain battles I don't really see any problem with the elephants, and then other times I just really dislike them. The armored ones are the ones I dislike the most. The unarmored elephants I really don't have a problem with. The armored ones are just really hard to stop with anything besides a spam of javelins, because javelins are the only thing that have enough AP damage. Let's see, his archers are not on heavy shot, but he did use quick reload. He's going to pull back, but basically I'm using my Velites to screen and hopefully get some kills on his Cretan archers. He doesn't really want to be skirmishing with Velites, and then also my heavy archers just got some shots as well. His Cretan archers are better when it just comes to stats, but they're also more expensive. My Syrian archers are 80 talents cheaper, and then with the support of my Velites, I should be able to pretty easily win this. The thing is, I really should have just used my Syrian archers for this battle, and it's because Velites are better versus elephants and infantry. And by using Velite ammo on an archer fight that I could have otherwise won anyway was kind of a mistake, in my opinion. So, I mean, look, I've pretty much already lost 2 Velites, and yes, I'm going to win this fight, but here's the problem. Syrian archers don't have much ammo, nor do any archers. So if I use too much ammo winning the skirmish fight, then what have I done? Well, great, I've killed his Cretan archers. But if I don't have enough ammo to take out his elephants, I'm screwed, because they'll just raffle stomp me. Because I mean, I don't have any pikes, and that's the only other way to stop elephants. I mean, don't think hoplites are going to do it either, because your hoplites will just get trounced, absolutely trounced. Now, I don't want light spearmen to be able to stand up against elephants, but that is one thing that I'd like to see changed, is that heavy spearmen like hoplites have a little better bracing power against elephants, like stopping them in their tracks. And then I also wish that they would get a bigger bonus versus large. I'd love to see like a 30 or 40 bonus versus large on hoplites. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't want them to be spammed either, because hoplites can hold out in an infantry fight for a good little while, but they do get beat by pretty much any sword unit. But I would like to see them have a better bonus versus large, even if it means that they were going to, you know, draw down their normal attack power just a little bit so that they don't get overpowered. I'd still like to see something like that. So this Carthaginian cav's going to get trapped in the attempt to kill my archers. My opponent did need to kill my archers though, but it's, like I said, it's going to get trapped and killed. And then over here, I started a cav fight, and again, I told myself not to do this, but I did it. And I didn't use trample because I wanted to save it for later. I didn't want my cav to get killed. Anyway, he reinforces with these late Libyan hoplites, and I'm going to reinforce with the Principes, but he's already got 2 units over here, plus elephants. So this is already a losing engagement for me. It's honestly kind of a waste of time. I decided to turn around and chase his late Libyan hoplites, Because, I mean, if I throw my Principes in his fight, it doesn't matter. They're going to get elephant stomped. And that's why I've already pulled my archers over here to try and fend off his elephants. And he tries to get into more of my cav here, which I'm going to pull them out and surround him with Principes. And the Principes will absolutely destroy these guys. No question about it. Yeah, I mean, there they go. They're routed. But, I mean, look at this. I just traded off a Sake Equite Extraordinary against a Carthaginian cav, which is a poor trade because this thing was cheaper. So that was just a bad trade for me. Got one of his cheap hoplites, but he got one of my cav, which is more important. So I also brought auxiliary cav in this fight, and they have pretty good stats, and I was pretty certain that they had Draco, which is the main reason why I brought them, but they didn't. So, stupid mistake on my part. I want to say Equites and Praetorian cav have it, apparently the others. I don't know if Sake Equites have it either. If they do, those are the ones I should have brought. Anyway, I had to run away from his Carthaginian cav again because he's supporting with these spearmen. I could just throw some Principes into that fight, but again, he's got elephants, and he's also got Libyan infantry nearby, so I'm just a little hesitant to commit to that fight. Now, I have my archers. I was firing at some of his Libyan infantry with heavy shot, and you can see heavy shot is pretty darn effective when you turn it on. My opponent did get away with a couple of Cretan archer units that weren't completely killed, but I don't know how much ammo he has left either, because he's already used quick reload. My opponent here is using a strategy where he keeps presenting his pikes to me, and you'll see that later on, anytime that I start to charge, he just withdraws his own infantry behind his pikes, and then that pike line is there to meet my advance. And so he's going to keep pushing that strategy, but I have a dilemma. I got my Velites killed early on, which I shouldn't have done. So now I have no easy way to kill his pikes. Well, sure, I could use my archers. And you're like, yeah, why aren't you using your archers? Well, I totally can use my archers. But they're going to run out of ammo, and I may not completely kill them. And then what am I going to do against his elephants? Nothing. That's what. So really, for all intents and purposes, unless my opponent makes a big mistake, this battle's over. And it's because I misused my skirmishers. So little things like that can actually become a big thing later in a battle. So I'll do what I can here to try and gain an upper hand. But I mean, I really, right now I'm saving the ammo on my archers too. You see me not return fire, and I'm trying to get him to waste the rest of his archer ammo. And I'm just trying to do what I can to skirmish down some of his pikemen. Over here, I go ahead and sacrifice a Principe unit. I couldn't really pull it back because I had a Carthaginian cav in it, but I also hate that it gets involved in this pike unit. But it gets quite a few kills before he gets killed, because pikes just aren't very good at being offensive. He charged his own Libyan infantry through his line. I went ahead and threw down on use the whip so that my guys could hopefully rack up some kills with the higher attack. So again, should have retreated these guys from combat before I got them engaged there. And again, my opponent gets hasty trying to get my archers and gets trapped with some more Carthaginian cav, and they're going to be killed. So my opponent is pretty much out of cav, except for his elephants. That's the only thing he has left. So I do have that advantage, and I'll try and push it, of course. You can see my Principes, again, like I said, getting a fair number of kills, even up against tough odds like these Libyan infantry, because his African pikemen are kind of out of position, to be quite honest. And Principes aren't great, but they're a pretty sturdy unit for 650 talents. And they'll do a pretty fair job in most engagements. So yeah, you can see them here doing their thing. Racked up over 100 kills even in a bad situation. So like I said, I mean, these guys can be fairly cost effective. I mean, I killed 30 of those guys. I didn't really kill any of those pikemen, and almost 30 of his Libyan infantry, so not bad. He is firing like the last of his Cretan ammo at my guys, but he's not on heavy shot, which means that it's going to be less than effective. If you're going to fire at heavy infantry, you have to turn on heavy shot. It won't do anything. If he was firing at barbarian infantry, he'd be doing fine. And Cretan archers have a blistering high attack, but they just won't do anything, and you can see why. It's the shields here blocking all your arrows. So they just don't have the armor piercing, and they can't get through the shields. And then here he's wasting ammo on these Velites, which really aren't going to be able to have much effect. He decides to actually run a Cretan archer that's out of ammo. So you look at these Cretan archers, they got 68 kills for 600 talents. Not worth it. You look at my guys, they cost 520 each, and none of my guys are worth it right now either. So that's the problem with archers. Both of us brought them. Neither one of us has made them count for anything. And again, if my archers can't deal with his elephants, then they've been misused. And my Velites were misused as well. These kind of elephants really aren't even that hard to kill. A solid volley of flaming javelins will run amok, and then a follow-up volley will kill them. Or just nail them with a bunch of javelins and kill them. I mean, quick reload with javelins, like 2 or 3 units, you can take down elephant units, no problem. That's the reason why I don't have a huge problem with elephants, just the armored ones. And again, the only reason I have a problem with an armored one is because only javelins have any chance against it. Archers can do well against the unarmored ones, but against the armored ones, no. They could flame them and run them amok, but the problem is if those elephants, like say for instance an elephant was charging me right here, and my archers hit it with a bunch of flaming missiles, it's going to keep running amok, and it'll just go right into my own men and just run all over them. And by the time I switch to heavy shot and shoot and shoot and shoot, it's already killed my entire army. So, I mean, like, a unit of armored elephants can wreck your troops, even when it's not under their control. So that's the reason why you got to be careful with them. So here I'm trying to keep his elephant's attention on my cavalry, so that he can't use them against my infantry. But, I mean, to be honest, if it comes to an engagement, his elephants will trash my cavalry, just trash it. So I'm going to fast forward because there's some jockeying for position that goes on here, but pretty much I feel like I've lost the battle. I don't know yet because, again, I'm going to try as hard as I can to win it. But my opponent just really has better tools at this point. I have my archers, and I could wait until the time runs out, basically. Or, because he doesn't want to attack me. I mean, if he attacks me head-on with his Libyan infantry, I'll win. If I have ammo left with my archers, I will kill his elephants. But if I don't use my archer ammo properly, he will win, because his elephants will raffle stomp all my infantry, and there's no way for me to stop him. So I am using some more of my archer ammo right now, just from the 2 depleted units, to try and continue to deplete his heavy infantry, and I am on heavy shot. The heavy shot makes my men less accurate, but at fairly close range it's not bad, and they will get through his armor. It adds like 7 armor piercing damage or something when you turn it on. Look at this back here, Air's not paying attention, gets elephant charged. Brilliant. Way to be stupid. Just completely loses Sake Equite. I mean, that was absolutely ignorant. Elephants should never catch your cavalry if you're paying attention, but clearly I was not. And again, look, my opponent doing the same strategy, a line of pikes behind his swords, and if I charge his sword, he just retreats behind the retreats behind the pikes. So it's a frustrating strategy because it'll work, and if I try to outflank, he can then split my center with the Libyan infantry. So I mean, it's really kind of a tricky situation. It's a pretty well thought out deal, actually, as long as he doesn't get put in the position where I have enough skirmishers to take care of him. I decided to do a quick charge here with my auxiliary cav, just get in and out, and melee cav gets pathetically small numbers of kills on sword infantry. I only got like 5 or 6, but I did get them pretty much for free. And then that allows me to charge my Principes forward. So I go ahead and make the charge, but again, look at him trying to support with his pikemen. The problem is I can't really continue the charge on every spot because his pikemen are right behind. But again, I mean, my guys will do okay in the fight against his somewhat depleted Libyan infantry, but the Libyan infantry is better. I did throw down and use the whip. Not sure if that was smart or not, but it really kind of lets my guys get a much bigger attack for a little while over his Libyans, and I do kill a fair few of his Libyans. The problem is my cav couldn't get past his elephants, and all I could do was hold them up and hope to win the infantry fight, but again, it's pretty much hopeless. He zoned out my Sake Equite out here. I shouldn't have let him do that. I should have been able to get around and get back to this fight. But I mean, at this point, it's just utterly hopeless. These guys have no ammo. These guys are trying to kill these elephants, and like even on heavy shot, my archers are shooting over here. But for whatever reason, I mean, they're just they can't fire fast enough to get the job done. Javelins can reload quickly. It just sucks because the archers are so annoyingly useless. I could run these guys amok, but what good's that going to do me? They got to be dead. So I mean, I could have shot some flaming arrows and hopefully run them amok, but it just wouldn't have worked. And my archers were too bunched up. Actually, that's part of the reason why they're not firing as fast either. But yeah, you can see that. I mean, look, even with all the arrows that have hit these guys, not enough to even kill a single elephant, and they're just gonna walk in here and take me out. Eventually, finally killed one elephant there, but it's too late because he's already into my archers, and I've already lost the infantry fight. I mean, I did all right in the infantry fight. In certain spots, it was fairly pyrrhic for my opponent, but in other spots, you know, he dominated me. Like, so over here, his infantry's getting the better of me. Over here, his infantry did get beat up pretty bad, but hey, you don't have to be looking good to win. And that's what he did here. Again, the elephants were the tool that I had no way to stop. And it is frustrating, but partly my own fault. If I would have just won the skirmish engagement with my archers rather than my velites, those elephants would have never had a chance of touching me. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. And that's the way I should have taken it, but I didn't, and I lost. So, good game to Chris. That was our first match. I actually played another match with him, which was on the Lamonum map. And as the game gets updated, I honestly hope that this map gets pitched out of multiplayer. This map's terrible. It's too much woods. You can't see the action. One player gets to start on a massive hill advantage, which is me in this case. Normally I get to start on the bottom. So it's not a good map. And I just don't like it. The one player is completely encouraged to forest camp, while the other player is just kind of screwed. And you can try and flank around, but I mean, there's so many woods and stuff that it gets really difficult. And again, I mean, look at the visibility here. The last time I recorded on this map, I remember it being like real blurry on YouTube too, because of the motion, and their encoding sucks, I guess, whenever it gets up there. I wasn't real pleased with the map, but let's go ahead and let me show you my army. This time I've brought Epirus, and I've got 4 cheap slingers, or 5 of them, I think. Yeah, 5 cheap slingers, just the junky ones. I've got a few levy pikemen and a couple of pikemen, I believe. Yeah, so I think 4 levy pikemen, 2 pikemen, 2 Indian elephants, and then I've got 2 units of Molossian dogs. And I thought these guys would actually be particularly helpful on this map, and I do believe they will be. And the reason I say that is because skirmishers, I don't believe, skirmish away from the dogs. I think they only skirmish away from the dog handlers. And it is in the woods, and although my guys aren't hidden, these guys don't hide easily for whatever reason, and so it's hard to get sneak attacks with them. It's hard to imagine how a horse can hide in the woods, but a dog can't. Strange. But in any case, all I have to do is wait for his skirmishers to get in the right position. I can release these guys, and they can go chew on his skirmishers. And if you're not paying attention and you can't see the dogs, and you don't get your guys to facing them the right way, the dogs can get a ludicrous number of kills. So I brought them on this map because of the heavy forest, thinking it would be a good opportunity for me. And I also brought a couple of skirmisher cav, which are out here trying to get the enemy cav to come out of hiding. And then I have 1 Hellenic Royal cav, yeah, 1 Hellenic Royal cav and 3 Thessalian cav. 2 of them are on this flank. So, gone cheap on cavalry again, just to try and not spend too much money there. And again, these skirmisher cav are just to get a fight started. People hate these things. No one likes getting hit with javelins or arrows. And that's pretty much the story of Total War for years. And you're going to see here that my opponent is no exception to that rule, and neither am I. I get pretty ticked off when someone's shooting me in the flank with that kind of junk. And so right here, I use it, and look, he pulls out his own mercenary Numidian cav and 2 Carthaginian cav, and so I'm just going to run away from them. And now my Hellenic Royal cav and my Thessalian cav can engage these guys. But much as he did in the last fight, my opponent is already rushing a Libyan infantry unit, or a late Libyan hoplite out here to support. The strategy's fine, and it works if you can stay close to your own men. He really should have tried to pull away, but he kind of got a little too hasty to get a hold of my skirmisher cav, of which he hasn't killed a single unit. And then he completely loses a mercenary Iberian cav and a Carthaginian cav. So my opponent makes a huge mistake here. I decided to chase this unit real quick just to make sure it went off the battlefield, and then I'm going to recommit back against this Carthaginian cav, which didn't lose any men on the charge to my Thessalian cav, which is weird. So yeah, I'll bring my my Royal cav back, and then this Carthaginian cav ought to go down. The problem is if the charge doesn't take place appropriately, which in this case it didn't because both units were on the move, melee cav last ludicrously long in a fight if you don't get the right charge. So this is going to give my opponent's Libyan infantry time to just keep running and make it up here. These guys don't get tired real easy either. And he puts them in this really long formation to try and be annoying to outflank. That's why people do that. I mean, because it just takes me longer to get around his flank. It does make them extremely vulnerable to charges, and to be quite honest, if this were a shock cav unit that I had right here, I would have just charged these guys, because I would have slaughtered about half the unit, and then I could have just retreated and then tried to charge again. But yeah, this Carthaginian cav is getting beat up. I'm going to go ahead and pull my Hellenic Royal cav back. I didn't lose any of it. And I'll just let my Thessalian cav bite the dust and continue to try and pull his units out on this flank, which I've successfully done at this point. And these piecemeal engagements are just really going to help me out here, because my opponent's already lost 1 Carthaginian cav, most of another, and this one right now is in a terrible position. So look, turn around, trample charge, boom, Royal cav. So not what he wanted. About 15 of his men pretty much instant killed there. He's got some Numidian cav for support, but I'm going to use my own skirmishers to try and busy these Libyan hoplites. Just so long as they don't get into the cav fight, I don't care. Because my Royal Cav will have no problem mopping up all 3 of these cav units. He should not have committed his Numidian cav. He should have gotten to the flank and tried to throw javelins at my Royal Cav. But see, look at this perfect use for the skirmisher cav, just keeping these Libyan hoplites out of the fight, and also keeping his elephants at bay. That's another main reason why I brought those skirmisher cav, because these elephants are vulnerable to him, because they're slow, and the javelins do a lot of damage to elephants. So this actually keeps his elephants from wanting to join the cav fight, because if they get in there and get bogged down, I'll get a chance to throw all kinds of javelins at them. And at this point, my opponent loses the last of his cav, basically, except for his elephants, and puts him in a very bad position. And see, look again, I'm able to chase off elephants with... These are only 360 talent units, and I'm chasing off elephants with them. Oh, I released my dogs. Yeah. Dang it. I really didn't want to miss the dog charge, so... Dadgum, I missed the dog charge. Let's see if we can find out where they're at. Well, here's some Molossian dogs that got a hold of his Cretan archers. Yeah, so you can see them running down the Cretan archers. There's some dogs coming back. Apparently I routed some Cretan archers, would be my guess. And then the rest of his Cretans are getting hit by my slingers. Dang, I really wanted to see the dogs. In fact, I might reload this just real quick and then fast forward. So let's load it again. Pretty sure it was this one, yeah. And I'll just fast forward so we can get to the part, because I think it's important for you all to see how the dogs work. Sorry, this is kind of frustrating. But I mean, at least you got to see the action on that one flank, and now I don't have to focus on it. So again, though, I'll fast forward until we get to the part with the dogs. I think it's important that you all see how I used them here, because it is one way to make them very viable. The dogs are going to be useful against... they're really going to be helpful against... what am I trying to say here? Peltist. And I'll tell you how, eventually. In fact, I have another battle where it demonstrates how useful they can be against Peltist. And I didn't even use them all that great, and they were still useful. And they're useful in more than one way. And that is because your dogs will get released to charge initially, but your handlers stay behind, which means that they can be used later as well, for kind of just bait units. Anyway, I'll just fast forward and get to the point where I use my dogs here. This map is atrocious. I just hate this map. Absolutely hate it. It's maybe good if you're a barbarian tribe and you're wanting to get... Look, you can actually see well, you probably can't because YouTube's encoding's crappy, but you can actually see the flaming arrows flying around out there. Okay, I think it's here in a minute. I decided to move my army over there, but yeah, I mean, this is that flank fight that we were watching earlier just taking place out there. Yeah, I think it's right around this point because I see his Cretan archers moving across the open here, so I realized that he has those expensive Cretan archers. Yep. Oh, play, I'm about to miss it again. Yeah, so at this point his Cretan archers weren't very well supported by infantry, plus my dogs running through the woods really can't be seen. You see that? There's no way he's going to see that. And then boom, check it out. Dogs right into his archers, and just watch the numbers. Just get chewed to bits. And those are expensive units. I don't even think he still knows the dogs are there because he's still just moving his troops, and this was why I brought them on this map. On a forested map where people can't see when your dogs are released, it can be very dangerous. Now, pikes would just skewer dogs. Yeah, so, I mean, if someone releases dogs towards your men and you have pikes, just run your men right behind the pikes and the dogs will get skewered. The problem is the dogs are very fast. Yeah, they're a pretty agile unit. So look at his Cretans here trying to get away, but, I mean, my dogs, and now my dogs are kind of into this pike unit as well, and they're behind it, which means that its pikes won't be able to help. Let's see. I got other dogs behind them too, and look at these late Libyan hoplites too, a fairly weak unit. Dogs are going to get a lot of kills on these kind of units. In fact, I mean, the dogs might actually kill one of these units head on, or like these Gallic warriors, they would probably get killed by the dogs too, head on. Again, dogs are fairly weak, but used like that, they were good. So 2 600 talent units of archers gone entirely. You might be like, well, Air, those dogs cost 650 talents. They do. But the thing is, at this point, again, I'm not sure my opponent ever saw them get released. And look, they're sitting here chewing on his African pikemen. And all throughout this battle, my guys continue to get a lot of kills. And look, mercenary Cretan archers trying to run to the front. Again, doesn't know the dogs are even here. And they're getting chewed on by the dogs. So that's one of the benefits of dogs. There are downsides to them, of course, but they can be useful in this respect. And see his guys trying to get up here and skirmish, but they can't because they've got dogs chewing on them. So it makes his men pretty much completely ineffective, and these guys just continue to get closer to paying for themselves. All they really need to do is get rid of the Cretan archers, and they were kind of cost justified. And I say that in a couple of ways. It's not really a perfect cost trade-off, and I'd love to get more than one unit, but that means that my skirmishers now pretty much go unopposed. And that means that I can kill a lot of his infantry or focus them on his elephants. Yeah, look at these dogs over here. These Gallic warriors have lost about 30 men from dogs. I mean, it's just insane the kind of damage these guys can do. The dogs are a bit glitchy, it seems, in the way that they walk around and attack. So what's funny is that they may not even be getting a whole lot of kills, but like, actually, I think these dogs are they fighting a hidden unit? I can't tell what they're doing. Yeah, look, Cretan archers coming through here again and getting chewed on by the dogs. So I kept hovering over the dogs on my UI, and anytime these units retreat through my dogs, the dogs are just going to get a lot of kills. So I wonder what they're up to. If we go back and mouse over, we can see how many kills. This unit's got 119 kills, and this one 160. So these guys continued to pay off long after I charged them, which was great. And at this point, with no cavalry, I can kind of roam in the rear of my opponent's units and threaten him, basically. And also my slingers can pretty much have their way with his guys because he's got no answer to it. I don't have a whole lot of answer to his elephants other than pikes, but that does make my opponent hesitant because between these skirmisher cav and the pikes, I definitely have a way of keeping his elephants at bay. Plus, I have my own Indian elephants. I'd rather not go head-to-head Indian elephants to African elephants. Even though my guys would probably win, it's just kind of a slow grind-out match and not exactly what I'd like to have. So, he does still have Cretan archers alive, though. I didn't entirely kill all of his Cretan units, but I did damage them rather badly. And again, my slingers are now just getting to fire into his men. Not going to be wildly effective because of the woods, but I didn't pay much for these guys, so... and you can tell why you don't pay much for them because they haven't gotten but like maybe 5 kills between all of them. Wow, terrible. On open ground they'd be a little better, but still pretty bad. But hey, I mean, the skirmish fire in and of itself makes him want to move forward in general. I don't know why he's shooting flaming arrows. He may have been thinking about trying to target my elephants earlier and just forgot to switch off of flaming arrows. But flaming arrows won't do anything except for run elephants amok. And look at this. He's going to charge me with Gallic warriors. Bring it. Just hit the trample button real quick and just absolutely destroyed that unit of Gallic warriors, and then I can just retreat before his men can reinforce. Yeah, so anytime someone does something like that, take advantage of it. That is a cheap unit, but when you look at it, this is the Salian Cav. I can't remember if it had already lost men earlier. Let's see if we can see a bunch of them on the ground. Not really. I think it lost men elsewhere. Maybe. I can't tell. I mean, even if I only lost 15 men, I got 44 kills there. Basically destroyed that Gallic warrior unit, and I'm going to follow up with elephants. Though this is a bit hasty. My opponent still does have some flaming missiles, so it was definitely hasty. But I saw his hoplites and Gallic warriors out of position, so I wanted to take the opportunity to raffle stomp them. But, I mean, think about that. It's not a whole lot of talents that I'm stomping on here. And then he's going to, again, reinforce with his elephants. Remember, this is the kind of fight that I didn't really want to be in. And his elephants get a clean countercharge, but mine start going amok. And it's at this point I decide, you know what, I'm not going to reinforce. I called this cav off because with my elephants running amok, they'll do damage to his guys as well. Like where he's throwing these swordsmen in, my elephants running around amok will actually start killing anything they step on. So I'm just going to let those guys run amok and peel my own units away. The African elephants of my opponent try and get into my flank. These guys just go head on here, which was probably a quick mistake, and they just get destroyed. This general goes down, and then here in a minute I'm going to focus fire my slingers on these elephants because they've done nothing else at the moment. Yeah, here they go. So the slingers will be able to cause some XP damage there, but at this point my opponent concedes defeat, which apparently has been working fairly well recently. Seeing that the game was pretty much done. So good game to my opponent. It went 1-1. And this game, so it's kind of weird. You won't see this real often, but my dogs were kind of some VIPs there. They killed quite a few of his skirmishers and also a bunch of his other infantry. So they killed as many... I mean, they killed a lot of men for being such small units. They are kind of expensive, but I think in the end it was worth it because it really hurt his ability to effectively be able to try and skirmish. I mean, my slingers weren't doing much. So me having killed these Cretan archers was nice, and it just kind of forced the engagement, which then went in my favor. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.